In order to assess the capacity of the lanthanum chloride to remove phosphate from the bodies of water, we took a sample of water from Tempe Town Lake and we tested it for its phosphorus concentration. So we took a 5 milliliter sample, and then using our phosphorus test kit that we found online, we followed the directions and put in 6 drops of this solution and then shook it up. And then we did this. We actually did this part 2 times so that we would have accurate results, and we got the same results for both times that we found the phosphorus concentration. So then we did the second part, the second solution, 6 drops, and shook it up for 5 seconds. And then we waited for 3 minutes before comparing it to our test strip, and we found that there is between 1 and 2 parts per million phosphorus in the water.
Next, we added lanthanum chloride, as shown here, to our sample in order to remove the phosphate. The chemistry behind this is that when lanthanum chloride is added to the phosphate, a precipitate is formed that can then be removed from the sample. Here we used a 10-micron filter to filter out the precipitate. As you can see, the precipitate was collected in the filter, showing that a certain amount of phosphate reacted into the precipitate.
We measured the concentration of phosphate again from the filtered water, this time getting a measurement of around 0.25 parts per million of phosphate compared to the original 1 part per million of phosphate. Our experiment with Tempe Town Lake started off with a concentration of phosphate around 1 to 2 parts per million, and after our experiment we ended with a concentration of around 0.25 to 0.5 parts per million of phosphate in the lake water. Our theoretical model used a basis of 100 milligrams per liter as our initial phosphate concentration, and after our theoretical experiment we ended with 31 milligrams per liter, which ended up with about 70% of our phosphate reacting with the lanthanum chloride, and this follows our estimate pretty accurately in our experiment because about 70 to 75% of our phosphate reacted with the lanthanum chloride. Here we have graphed the concentration of phosphate over time that would precipitate and then be filtered out of our system.